Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to talk about hats, specifically two hats out of Unearthed Arcana, the Hat of Disguise and the Hat of Difference. I'm just going to take a look at both of these chapeaus. You see my deer stalker. I used a DM in this. We're going to take a look at both of these hats and see how they can be used in your campaign, and I'll tell a little bit about how I use them in my campaign. One interesting side note, the old club I mentioned several times, I always wore my deer stalker. I don't know why, it was just the thing I did. I think my players got a kick out of it. I stopped wearing it because it's getting older, and this is an actual wool hat and it's really warm. So today on page 121, a look at hats. All right, we're going to take a look at our magical hats from Unearthed Arcana. They are on page 100. I chose these items because they're actually very popular items. I've given out a couple of hats of disguise, and I have given out at least one hat of difference. I'm going to go over each item and the pros and cons of giving these out. The hat of difference especially, I think, is very strong. Because of that, I'm going to save that for a second. We're going to start with the hat of disguise. This hat of disguise, this normal appearing chapeau, contains a powerful enchantment which allows its wearer to alter his or her appearance as follows. So you can go plus or minus 25% of your height, 50% of your weight, change gender to male or female. Facial features can be highly mutable. Hair any color, eyes any color, complexion any color. Thus the wearer could appear as a comely woman, a half-orc, or possibly even a gnome. You'd have to be fairly small if you were human and trying to be a gnome, but you could do it. If the head is removed, the dweomer of the disguise is instantly dispelled, but the headgear can be used over and over. Note that the hat can be changed as part of a disguise to appear as a comb, ribbon, headband, fillet, cap, coif, hood, helmet, etc. I make, in my game, if you're using this as a disguise, I make you have something on top of your head like a hat. So it can be a headband or a comb or a ribbon, but there has to be something up there on top of your head. You can't just be a bald monk, tonsured monk or anything like that. You have to have some kind of head cover on. The other thing I don't allow is, because you can alter your appearance, it doesn't expressly state you can duplicate someone's appearance. To that end, I don't allow you to exactly duplicate somebody else. You can approximate somebody else, but the old, okay, we've taken the guard out of the picture, now I'm going to disguise myself as the guard through my hat of disguise, I don't actually allow, because I feel that that's more of just a specialized thing or a more powerful item or spell. I do allow you to look kind of like the guard, but anybody that would know the guard would know the difference. And that's kind of why I do it that way. It's to keep the players kind of on their toes so they can't just be replacing people at their will. I like the hat of disguise. I've given out a couple of these in my campaign over the years, and they've been used very well. Now we go to the hat of difference. I only remember giving out one of these, and it's still active in my campaign. When this dweomered chapeau is donned, the wearer is able to assume the role of character of any profession different from that which he or she follows. The magical headgear only empowers assumption of first level ability, but as long as it is worn, the possessor is able to act as a member of the named profession. Any experience thus gained is in the assumed role only, but it is cumulative. So if several wearings, you go to second level, then you actually retain that level whenever wearing the hat. Such progress may continue indefinitely, but if the hat is discarded, lost, or stolen, or not within a 1-mile radius of its owner for any 24-hour period, then all experience in the different profession is likewise lost. The hit points of the character are always those actually possessed, just the ability scores are those of the actual character. This is actually very interesting, because there's several things not said here that I've worked into my campaign, and there's a reason I've only given one of these out. The magical headgear powers you to be in a first level. It doesn't say it can only do one first level. So I ruled to make it a little stronger than implied here, and I allow the player that has it, that's my player Roy in my campaign, he can go ahead and he wanted to be a first level cleric, for instance. He's a 5th level fighter. He was about an 8th level fighter when he got the hat. And he becomes a first level cleric. Now he's going to get the bonuses for his wisdom, and he's going to have to follow the same deity he's been following. I always make my player characters profess some deity when they create their characters. But with the hat on, he can go as first level. Now he's only acting as a first level cleric. So he still has the hit points of a 5th level fighter, but he has to act as a cleric. So a smart player will go ahead and make sure that they have a good mace they can use so they can stay within the cleric identity. And they'll go ahead and they'll gain the experience points for that adventure as a cleric. Now, in the next adventure, he decides he wants to be a paladin. I actually allow that. And because the ability scores are always those of the actual character, I don't restrict it by the ability scores of the character. So if he's missing, he's got a 12 charisma instead of a 17. So he doesn't qualify as a paladin. The hat makes the difference in my game. So again, he's got to operate as a paladin. And the only thing I do for a paladin, I do require him to be lawful good. So if he wants to be a paladin with this character, he has to be lawful good to begin with. But let me go ahead and I'll use a different example. Suppose he wants to be a thief. So he's 5th level or 10th level fighter. We'll say 10th level fighter. And he decides he's going to be a 1st level cleric and operate as a 1st level cleric. And then in the next game, he's going to change it over to become a thief. And he's going to dump his experience points for that adventure all go into thief. Now, at 10th level, you get a fair amount of experience points. It's very easy to run this hat up in levels very quickly. That's the reason I've only really given one of these out. They can become very powerful the way I allow them very, very fast. So, for instance, with a few wearings, that 10th level fighter can now opt to be a 5th level cleric or a 5th level thief if he's accrued enough experience points in those classes. Now he decides he's going to be a magic user. He starts the 1st level magic user, and he goes on from there. He can be that character, but he cannot mix them. He can't decide he's going to use cleric powers now, and then later in the same day, he's going to be a thief. He has to choose which one he's going to be for the 24-hour period, and I make him choose every morning. So that's a little limit on the hat, but as you can see, there comes a point where it really doesn't matter, because if I'm 10th level across the board in fighter, thief, cleric, and magic user, I can just choose whatever I want to be. This does bring the character into a strange place where he can be anything he needs to be, and he can change during the course of a dungeon the way I allow it. So it just makes the hat, I think, way more powerful, but he is working with his own statistics. I'll go back to my cleric example. He only has, he's 10th level fighter, only has a 12 wisdom. Well, he's not going to get any bonus spells for that. He'll start out with 1 1st level spell and then move up from there. So there are some limits. You would have to really commit to this to make it work back and forth. The player did ask me, is there any way I could make it where I could just use the powers all at once while wearing the cap? I'm still debating that. I think that's very powerful. If I let him do that, I would make it be some kind of pretty epic quest to go on. And I would also discuss it with the other players and make sure nobody feels they're getting their toes stepped on if this guy's suddenly walking around interacting with 4 different classes. I think it's neat. I may allow it. I haven't decided yet. But the hat itself can be stolen, and if it's away from him for 24 hours, then he loses all the abilities. So there are ways out of it. I just think it's a great item. I think it's an item you have to be very careful with. I think the way I do it, it actually is almost artifact level, and you must use caution. Don't have a whole party wandering around with these things because you'll get into trouble fast. So that's the Hat of Difference. I already talked about the Hat of Disguise. I hope you liked the conversation about these 2 magical chapeaus from Unearthed Arcana. These were 2 that caught my eye right when I first read Unearthed Arcana, and I was very excited about them. I actually said I've only given out 1 cap. I have to correct that. I actually gave one out in the mid-'80s to a player who, unfortunately, is no longer gaming with us. He moved away. No hard feelings, he just moved away. But his character is actually still existent in my Greyhawk campaign. It's just that I don't use old characters as NPCs or anything. I just kind of let them be in the universe. So that's all I've got to say today on those two wonderful magic hats. If you have any comments or suggestions on how you would use the hats, I'd be very interested in hearing about them. Any suggestions for future videos, I'm also interested in. And that's it today from page 121. Thanks for watching.